everyone. Welcome to another edition of Spilling the Tea on GovCon. I'm Teresa Moon, Director of Market Strategy for Parabolis. We are the preeminent partnership for government contractors, providing holistic support that includes a line of credit to fund your growth. The purpose of this podcast is to assist small businesses with success in the federal marketplace by introducing them to industry experts and resources that they may not otherwise know about. Today, we welcome Ashley Farrier, Director of the Office of Small Business of the United States Special Operations Command, also known as SOCOM. Her experience includes assisting SOCOM's acquisition workforce with advancing small business participation in Special Operations Forces' unique procurements. And we are thrilled to have you join us today. Welcome, Ashley.
Thank you so much, Teresa, for having me today. I'm super excited to talk to you and your community here.
Thank you so much. I know that it's a very busy time of year for everyone, so we appreciate your time. But before we get into the details of our discussion today, if you would please tell us a little bit more about yourself, your experience in the government contracting industry, and your current work with US SOCOM.
Sure. So I started my federal career back in 2009, and I actually started as an intern at SOCOM in the contracting office. So I spent 13, 14 years doing federal contracting, almost all of those at SOCOM, a couple years with the Corps of Engineers at their Construction Engineering Research Lab, and then back to the headquarters at SOCOM at McDill, where I managed the complete services portfolio for the entire command. Back in 2022, I switched over and am now the small business director. And I've kind of been doing this type of thing ever since. So it went from one side of the table kind of to a forward facing part of the command. And I've enjoyed it very much since I've been in this role.
Well, that's incredible. And there's a testimony to staying in the same spot for a long time. You must enjoy it and you must work with a lot of wonderful people. I know, being in this industry, we see people that shift to different roles and may not stay within the same places where they've started. And so I think that's probably a testimony to having a good support system around you at SOCOM. And I love hearing that. It's rare these days. And so that's wonderful. And like I said before, we're super excited to have you on the show. We have a huge community of listeners that are excited to learn more about how they can engage with SOCOM. And that's our topic for today, doing business with US SOCOM. And so let's jump right in and talk about, if you would please discuss some of the initiatives that US SOCOM is presenting right now in 2026 and beyond, and where small businesses can find information on current and upcoming opportunities.
There are so many opportunities within the command, and a lot of it is just that people don't know where to start. And throughout this conversation, you're going to hear me refer to a lot of the same entry points, but those are really the established processes that SOCOM has. And if there's ever any questions, myself and my deputy, Paul Ward, we make up the entire small business office for the command. And we are always here as a friendly face to answer questions if there are concerns or if there are any issues with anything that I talk about today. But as far as initiatives go, there are so many. We do a very good job working with our small business primes and in our subcontracting program. We have multiple opportunities right now, small business set asides. There are several draft RFPs out on SAM for different opportunities. If you're ever looking for things that are SOCOM related in SAM, in the Federal Procurement Data System, and all of those very complicated sometimes federal government systems.
Yeah.
SOCOM's agency code is 97ZS, so 97 Zulu Sierra. That'll pop up all of SOCOM's current opportunities. Specifically in our office, we do a lot of outreach. So I do a lot of things like this. We host office hours Mondays and Thursdays, which are individual for companies to come in and talk to myself or my deputy about what their services or what goods that they are offering, and then us be able to give them some kind of pinpoint advice, whether one, maybe it's not SOCOM related, but here's another agency that you could talk to.
Mhm.
We also host monthly small business events. We actually just hosted one this week featuring our program executive office for the Special Operations Forces support activity. We have one coming up, which I will give a little nod to on the 14th for our Science and Technology Directorate. All of that information and those opportunities can be found out on sam.gov. We also send those out via email to folks that are registered in our database. If you'd like to get registered, just reach right out to me directly and we can get you set up so that you get those automatic updates from our office. We send out not a lot. We're not trying to spam anyone, but we
Right.
do want to make sure that we have maximum participation in all of our small business events because, again, a lot of companies have a lot of great ideas, a lot of great services that they offer, but they just don't know where to get started.
Right.
So some of those are really our main focus, and all of that information can be found out on our SOCOM.mil website. And we are just hoping and trying to get out to as many people as we can just to make sure that people know who to connect with, which is
Mhm.
typically my office, and then where to go from there, because that really is the hardest part in a lot of
Mhm.
these companies' paths in federal contracting is just figuring out where to start.
Absolutely, and you've provided a wealth of information right there, which was really great, and I should have noted before we started talking that people need to have pen and paper available, but you guys know where to go back to and re-listen to the beginning of this conversation so you can jot down some of that information, but I think what I'm recognizing more than anything right now, Ashley, is that you are a warm and friendly and welcoming person, and I think that that is something that our listeners are gonna lean into because it is very intimidating in some circumstances for businesses, whether they've been in the marketplace for a while and they're recognizing that their mission capabilities might line up with the mission that SOCOM might be pushing through with some of the upcoming opportunities. And they might not have known about it because they didn't know whether or not where to research or who they could reach out to. The fact that you guys have open office hours for people to engage with you personally, I think it's wonderful. I know, a lot of agencies and do offer opportunities like that for engagement. But I think your personality alone is going to lend itself to people understanding that this isn't a scary interaction, that they can truly reach out to you and your team and find out more information if they're finding some issue with SAM or FPDS, which can really take people for a whirl if they're not used to looking up information through those avenues. And so I think it's wonderful that you've offered you and your team as an access point for that as well. It's wonderful. And, sometimes in government, we tend to divide ourselves on the contractor side or the private sector side and thinking that we're not going to have the opportunity to be able to speak to you directly. And so I love the fact that you started the conversation by saying that you welcome it. That's wonderful. And I know a lot of people are excited to hear that. What I would like to do though is move into having you talk a little about. You guys are able to do things a little bit differently at SOCOM, and so I'd love for you to talk about acquisition authority and how that supports your mission and your ability to move faster with some of the opportunities that you have.
Absolutely. So SOCOM is unique in some aspects, but not in a lot of the others. So we
Mhm.
do have acquisition authority that comes direct from DC to our commander, and then it comes to our acquisition executive, Miss Melissa Johnson. And that acquisition authority is for special operations, peculiar equipment and services. So it is a little bit different than some of the, big services, Army, Air Force, where you're going. But what people, I think, fail to understand a lot of the time is even though we have that authority to go out and acquire special operations, equipment, services, all of those things, we're using the same federal acquisition regulations that all other offices are. We follow the FAR, we follow the Defense Federal Acquisition Regulation Supplement. We're following all the same rules of the game as all other federal agencies. I think what makes SOCOM super unique is that our command is pretty small in comparison to a lot of other federal agencies. In the department, we represent less than 2% of the overall department budget. So we're not necessarily building the next, carrier or things like that nature, but we're doing more kind of specific and unique acquisitions, but still following the same rules. We also
Mhm.
have a super flat organization. Ms. Johnson, almost all of our acquisition leadership is co-located at the headquarters at MacDill Air Force Base. So anyone that needs to make a decision in our acquisition, they're usually right down the hallway from you. So I think that is super unique as well because we're not going to, having to go up multiple chains in order to get some of those decisions made. But it's the
Mhm.
same rules that everyone else follows. People think that we skirt the system somehow, and it's just not the case.
Right. So you've got a direct line to DC, which is fantastic, and some other agencies don't have that luxury. But there's still the protocols and processes and procedures in place that all the rules that everyone has to follow. So we at Parabolas and the community that we support obviously are advocating for small business growth and engagement in the federal marketplace. And so how have you seen that it's been attractive to SOCOM to engage small businesses, whereas other agencies might still lean on their larger prime relationships? What are you seeing has been the most attractive thing in terms of the capabilities and the businesses themselves, the small business community, to be able to engage with SOCOM and support your mission critical needs?
A lot of that, I think, Teresa, has to do with the agility of small businesses. They're able to move quickly at the speed of soft, where sometimes large companies, although we have a lot of large business primes that are supporting our command and giving great services, sometimes those small businesses have the agility because they are small, much like we
Mhm.
are. I always joke with people that SOCOM is the small business of the department. And our mission set just lends itself to the niche capabilities from the startup community, from new technologies and the small companies that are, starting in someone's garage from a great idea. Yeah, a lot of that has to do with our veterans that have supported the
Mhm.
military previously think or they know, they had this issue when they were in the military and now they're looking to help solve that for future, iterations. So a lot of it has to, in my opinion, I think a lot of it just has to do with our mission set, the fact that we're also acquiring things on a much smaller scale than some of the other services or some of the other agencies, I think also lends itself to small businesses being able to come in, perform, work alongside us, and be successful in our command. Last year alone, we did 36% of our obligated dollars were direct to small business primes, which was
Oh.
$1.5 billion dollars last year in FY25. So we are constantly looking for new companies. We're looking for new technologies. If any companies out there have a great idea and it just hasn't been picked up yet, if you're looking to find feedback on that, SOCOM has a great process called Engage Soft, which you can find on our Vulcan website at vulcan-soft.com. That Engage Soft call gives you a determination if what you're doing is going to be relevant to special operations forces. And then you're guaranteed technical feedback from that as well. Because
Mhm.
more than anything, a lot of what my office does, we want to make sure that you're in the right place. I won't
Right.
lie, there's just not going to be a home at SOCOM for every company that comes through. Again,
Mhm.
our budget is pretty small in comparison,
Right.
but the ones that really have something that is applicable to our mission, we wanna make sure that we are getting after those companies.
Absolutely. And I love several things that you've said here. And I think it points to a lot of topics that we've brought up previously in other conversations in terms of really understanding what the mission is of the agency that you're trying to do business with before that you engage with them. Because if you don't understand what they do, you can't possibly go into a conversation with yourself or with anyone from your team and provide a capability that you know right off the bat might serve an opportunity that is ongoing or something that might come up in the future if you don't know what they're doing. And it sounds simple enough, but I think in the excitement of having a business and really believing in what you do, some people proactively reach out without really understanding what the mission is of that particular agency. So I think that was key that you were talking about there is really knowing that you're in the right place when you're engaging, number one. And then another thing that I thought was great about what you were talking about is the agility portion of a way a small business can pivot. So if it's someone that's done business with you prior, they might know about how to engage with you about being able to get involved maybe as a subcontractor with some of the larger companies that are engaging already as the prime, and support with services that they can bring in and really help elevate the level of execution for things that are in play there. But I think more than anything else, the wonderful thing that you said about the 36%, I believe that you said, of small business participation in contract opportunities with SOCOM is so wonderful because we're not seeing percentages out of other agencies that high with small business participation. And in an age where socioeconomic certifications are becoming, tasked a little bit more with solidifying their place in the industry itself, it's really important for small businesses to understand that there are the allocations for them just on behalf of the small business community. They don't have to be leading with a certification. And there are agencies like this that are really looking for the mission critical capability. And my favorite part, of course, because it's near and dear to my heart, is the veteran community. They are super able to be more proactive because they do understand certain needs that may not have been met or may not have even been presented to you yet. And a small business can come in with a great idea that could fit a purpose to really give the warfighter what they need when they need it and faster than some of the bureaucracy and federal marketing can provide to other processes. And so I think it opened wide open to the majority, if not all, of the listeners that engage with spilling the tea that, SOCOM is small business friendly. They have the results to show that. And they're really open and willing to have you bring ideas, fresh ideas that may not have been utilized yet, and engage at a high level to potentially open an opportunity for yourself that they might not have on the docket yet. And so I love everything that you said. I think it's super positive to see, especially people tend to align certain, misconceptions about doing business with military agencies. And I think you've blown the doors off of all of that. They're warm and friendly. There's opportunities aplenty. They are open to you bringing technologies and different types of mission critical capabilities that they may not be dealing with at this point. But at the end of the day, it's the job of the business owner to be educated and knowledgeable about what it is exactly that the mission is for SOCOM before you take those meetings and really maximizing the opportunities of getting in front of you and seeing if it could be a good fit. So I love everything that you just said. Wanted to highlight some of it so that if people are just jumping in now, that they have a chance to go back and listen to some of the other things that you talked about because you hit points on all levels of really positive energy of opportunities and how people can engage. So thank you so much for that. It's wonderful. I think we've talked about a few of the things. I was going to ask you for some tips. We've talked about utilizing the website to get on a distribution list to make sure that people are updated to when opportunities and events are coming out. You guys do a great job. I'm on that distribution list. I'm an Orlando person, so I'm not too far from Tampa. You do a lot of in person engagements as well as virtual. So I love the mix there. So definitely will point people back to that. And if you wouldn't mind, if there was something else and you talked about a lot of the different events that you guys put out for the communities to engage in, are there any other tips specifically for a small business in terms of effectively engaging with the opportunities that you guys have coming up?
Yeah, so Teresa, I want to go through some tips, but I also want to bring up some just kind of general barriers that smalls sometimes face when they come to us. A lot of our requirements require a facility clearance. So I'm going to bring
Mhm.
that up right off the top of the bat because I know a lot of companies that are new to the federal space or they've not worked with a command such as ours are not familiar with that process or that it's required. That is something that SOCOM a lot of times does require, especially for our service contracts where there's going to be, contractors working in our spaces, on our networks, those types of things. If you have questions about that facility clearance process, I know it can be very overwhelming. Please feel free to reach out to us anytime. We're happy to talk about it, but we definitely recommend the subcontracting route in order to find a sponsor and get through the facility clearance process. So I did want to make sure I bring
Mhm.
that up today
That's a great
because
point.
there are just
Yes.
so many companies. There's just so many companies that aren't even aware of what that is, and they come to me and they say, "Well, Ashley, just exited the government. I have a top secret facility clear or I have a top secret personnel clearance." And I'm like, "Okay, but unfortunately that's not for your company. It's specific to
Right.
your cage code." So I did want to make sure that I bring that up. One thing I would be remiss if I didn't mention is our partnership intermediary agreement with the nonprofit organization called SoftWorks. You can
Mhm.
find all of their information at softworks.org. They are a huge piece of our innovation, and they work with small businesses consistently, not just with my office, but for different events. You can find all of their events again on their website at softworks.org. They are very small business friendly. We host an annual small business boot camp out there with both virtual and in person opportunities. We host networking events with them. So even if you're not ready to prime just yet, we do bring in some of our SOCOM primes or other department primes so that you can find subcontracting opportunities and different things like that. This past time, we even had venture capital folks there to talk to startups that are looking for some of those investment or
Mhm.
investors into what their new technology is. So there are just so many different ways to engage. And of course, if you've been around SOCOM at all or if you've done any research, our largest and our flagship event of the year is Soft Week. It is in
Yep.
May every year. Last year there were, I think, 22,000 people there. It is huge. It takes over downtown Tampa.
Yep.
Wear comfortable walking shoes and bring some water because it's usually hot by then.
Yep.
But Soft Week is a great opportunity to not only network with other companies, but it's our place of duty for all acquisition personnel at Soft AT&L. So we're all down there all week long having those types of conversations, pointing people in the right direction, and it'll be coming up. I can't remember the dates off the top of my head this year, but you can find all that information at softweek.org.
Yeah. I attend that every year. It's an easy hop, skip, and a jump from Orlando, but I will send the warning out to people in other parts of the country that might not be aware about what the Florida heat is like in May. It is sweltering already. We start getting warm in late March, early April. So by the time we hit first, second week of May, which is typically when it is. But the beautiful part is that the convention center is right on the water. So there's usually a nice breeze and beautiful view of downtown Tampa. So you really can't beat it, and I love that you mentioned that. That's not only is it super well attended, I mean, 22,000, there aren't any other federal market conferences that can rival it, and it's very fun, and especially the technologies that people are displaying at those events are really phenomenal, and even the outdoor activities that will be able to, have people come outside and see some of the different demonstrations of things is it's really phenomenal, and it provides a way for everyone to feel engaged and, that truly American spirit. And so I definitely can testify to the fact that Soft Week is a good time, but it's a great place to find many opportunities. And, with that in mind too, I travel the country on the circuit for a lot of different industry support events. Are there any other conferences that your team engages in, or is it typically just the Soft Week and then the industry days and things like of that nature that you guys put on for yourselves?
No, we engage kind of across the country as well. With a team of 2, it is hard to get to
Yeah.
absolutely everything, but just later this month, I'll be at the National Small Business Conference up in Nashville, hosted by the
Great.
8A Association. We try to get to as much as we possibly can.
Yeah. I love hearing that. I will be in Nashville as well, so I will definitely come by and see you. That's wonderful. So, I think, most people tend to say the same thing. It's hard for one person. I do that for our business as well. You can't be everywhere. The Small Business Conference for the National AD Association is a great event. We'll be there. There'll be lots and lots of other contractors there too. So I'm glad that people know that they can engage with you there as well. It's wonderful. I want to close out with a success story. I love asking people, especially someone like yourself who's engaged in your spot and with your team for many years now. I'm sure you have lots of them, but what are you thinking about in terms of greatest achievements in your role and with your time at US SOCOM? What's been a great achievement that you could share with us?
Honestly, there have been so many great things that have happened since I've been at SOCOM. I mean, I've spent my whole career with this command since I've started with the
Mhm.
federal government. And there are so many great things and I've had so many great opportunities. I was able to be deployed to Qatar when I was in the contracting office to help for deployed operations and contracting. When I managed all the service contracts, I participated and oversaw our satellite communications, which was 24/7, making sure that boots on the ground always had open comms. There are just so many great programs within the command that I've been fortunate to be a part of, but probably my number one in this role as the small business director, well, probably two things. Last year, my deputy, Paul Ward, won as the number one small business professional for the entire department, which was super impressive and speaks a lot to his commitment to small businesses. And in FY24, we did the most dollars the command has ever done direct to small business primes at almost $1.8 billion. So there are just so many things to be proud of. There are so many people that I work with every day that I am proud of every day. We've seen companies start out with an idea, come to us, talk to us about it, get through the entry points, and now have contracts in the hundreds of millions of dollars. So it's just very fulfilling working with these companies, being able to talk to people like yourself and your community, and just getting some of that positive feedback on, hey, it was super easy to work with you guys. It's just, there's a lot of things in my career with SOCOM that I've been very proud of.
That sounds amazing, and just the record alone, I think, speaks for itself. That's phenomenal, and I think is very encouraging to the small business community that might want to get started in engaging with you all. You're a small business friendly environment, and so I think that's wonderful, and I love that's what we're gonna end our conversation on. And I hope that this has been a good enough experience for you that you'll come back and join us again, and like I said, I'm looking forward to seeing you in Nashville and meeting you in person and continuing our conversations at another date.
Absolutely. Again, Teresa, thank you so much for having me today. I really appreciate it. And for all of you out there, if you are don't know how to get a hold of me, my contact information is very much public information. It's always posted on my LinkedIn. It's always posted out on the SOCOM.mil website. And trust me, even if you have a what you think is a simple question, that's what I'm here for, is to answer what I can. So please don't ever hesitate to reach out to myself or my office.
Well, that's wonderful. And thank you very much for the offer for our audience to do so. This has been a really great conversation, and I look forward to seeing you soon. And thank you all for joining us. As always, we pride ourselves on sharing the most insightful and exciting people and information to help you better navigate your GovCon journey. If you like what you heard today, you can see all of our past podcasts, which are archived on our Parabolis YouTube channel. Stay tuned for all of our future guests in the coming months as we help you grow to great heights in the year ahead. I'm Teresa Moon, and this is Spilling the Tea on GovCon. Have a great day, my friends.